Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. It is I, Emily Sophia, aka M Mighty Sophia, here to break down for you guys the penultimate episode of Better Call Saul Season 2. We are on Season 2, Episode 9, Nailed. So spoiler alert, before I dive into the magic of things, as I shall be bearing all in this review, or at least doing my absolute best to, because inevitably there are going to be some details. I'm going to miss some things that you really wanted to hear somebody talk about, and I might not do that. So that is where you guys come in. Please feel free to leave your comments throughout the video or after you've listened to my thoughts, and we will keep the conversation going below. So let's get into this thing. And may I just say, what a phenomenal freaking season has been lavished upon us. I have been, over the past few weeks, I've actually been listening to the Better Call Saul Insider podcast on Tuesdays after the episodes aired, because I love to get to hear Peter Gould and, Vince Gilligan and the whole crew come together and discuss, all the behind the scenes aspects, the storytelling, and just all the pieces that come together to make this show click. And everything meshed so fabulously in this episode. And I was so utterly terrified and enthralled at every possible angle. So we had a couple of overarching plots this week and some major revelations that are setting things up for, I actually have no idea how things are going to end at this point. I could conjecture and make my guess, but I sort of love just being left at the edge of this precipice, dangling over the edge, and all I can see is this fog and clouds below me, and I think, damn, what's waiting for me at the bottom? That's how I feel with this show. But so we got Mike, who is seeking a way to draw police attention to the Salamancas and to take them down in that respect, / to get revenge against Hector Salamanca and company for, the way that they pretty much used him, the way that they threatened his granddaughter, Kaylee. There was kind of a multifaceted decision-making process that went behind the opener of this week's episode. And of course, its unfortunate fallout later on into this chapter. So we got to open this week up with Mike all clad in black in the desert, waiting with his lovely homemade spike strip, which Kaylee actually contributed to, so I guess she's getting a little bit of revenge against the twins for, unbeknownst to her, making air guns at her in the distance. So hey, she's getting hers as well. But anyway, so after meticulously studying the cartel supply chain, Mike decides to make his move. Take down the Regalo Helados truck, I believe is the name. Sorry if I butchered that. But at least the driver of that truck did not find himself butchered by Mike. All Mike wanted was, slash up a few tires, poke around, grab some cash, make his mad dash. And he thought that he thought of everything. And Mike's the kind of guy who, he knows a thing or two. And he even says to Nacho's face, like, yo, I got this. You guys think you know, but you don't know. And that is the point at which Nacho clarifies the situation for him and explains, number one, this was not in the papers because we cleaned it up. And number two, a Good Samaritan died indirectly because of your actions and your attempt to pin the tail on the donkey of the cartel. So, this ain't no kid's birthday party, Mr. Mike. You are currently dealing in the land of half measures, and that is not going to take you very far. And in fact, is going to cause potentially a lot of bodies to drop. A lot more than if you maybe dropped a guy every now and again. Which, for those of us who have seen Breaking Bad, we know the trajectory that Mike is headed towards. And it's really interesting to see how the show has been so careful to characterize Mike as an incomplete version of the Mike who we see further on down the line. I mean, this is a Mike who, he grabs 6 figures worth of cash from the tire of an ice cream truck. And then he goes and buys a round for everybody at the bar. And when he was at that bar, I couldn't help but think of the last time when we saw him in that kind of environment, which was when he was going after, it was that one Mike-centric episode from last season. He was hunting down the dude who did the thing with the son, and, back in the days when he was in the East Coast and dealing with the fallout of the situation there. So I felt a little nervous, and then seeing him reach for his wallet and kind of thumb those nice green bills, I was like, if there's one thing that my mom told me, it's that you don't count your money in public, yo. It puts a target on your back. Kind of like, maybe buying a round for the bar. I know that nothing is necessarily going to play out, I think, as a direct result of that choice. But then again, I really shouldn't put it past the writers here. They also know what they're doing, much like Mike thought he did with his course of action. But as it turns out, all he walked away with is dirty drug money. That's just about it. Didn't get the publicity that he wanted, and actually indirectly caused the death of an innocent person. So that's not looking so good for our boy there. But of course, all of this leads me to the situation that is unfolding with Jimmy McGill, aka he gets a bit of a win this week that turns into a bit of a not win, as in the final minutes of this episode, he is stuck hiding in an alleyway across the street from the office shop, watching his brother demanding the sales representative to tell him, did you see this man? Because he is a fraudster, he is involved in forgery, he is this and that. And ultimately, Chuck finds himself overcome with the electromagnetic radiation pulsating around him in the store. He is completely overwhelmed, completely destroyed by everyone's refusal to accept or to voice their acceptance of the truth. And that at every single turn, it is Jimmy's doing. And he feels so trapped, so overwhelmed, so stressed, so out of his element, so completely and utterly exposed. No victory laps to be had for him. And so he collapses, hits his head pretty damn hard on the side of a counter, and he's down for the count. So this leaves us at a very interesting place as we gear up for the finale. What exactly is the fallout of this accident going to look like for Chuck, for Jimmy, for Kim, for everybody who is, radiating out from this explosive core of this awful brotherly feud. At every single turn, I felt like I was just slaloming back and forth. Like I could not decide how to feel about what was going on with Chuck, because he's been such a bastard at every single opportunity given to him. And after the epiphany that came last season, the revelation of how he was trying to sabotage his brother's career, after that, I thought to myself, surely there's no going back and feeling badly for Chuck. And yet we're given a lot of opportunities to kind of experience the disorientation that he experiences. We see it at the application hearing where everything goes awry as a result of Jimmy's handiwork. And we get the camera focused squarely on Chuck as he is spinning. You know, you can hear the zapping, sizzling noise of the lights and of everything emitting electricity in the room. You feel it bearing down on him. And there's this strange perspective too, where, you know, we're sort of looking up, and we see how everything is spinning behind him. And we also get that too, at the office store towards the end. And we even see him like kind of separating from himself, you know, that blurring and distortion and the sharp cuts. And we see what it's like to be trapped inside his mind. And so even though on the outside he may seem, you know, at times maybe prideful and assertive and aggressive, or like a raving madman, when in fact we, you know, otherwise would be unable to see the war that he's fighting in his mind, and just how desperate his psychosomatic condition makes him in the midst of him trying to do what he believes is right. And like I said, like I hate myself for feeling badly. I don't want to do it. But at the same time, does that put me in a position where I'm like, yeah, Jimmy, you done good. Your work here is done. You seal the deal. You got Kim, her client, back. You're the white knight hero in this situation, you know? But the show does not make it easy to put things in black and white, which is very fortunate. I would not be watching this series if that was the case at all. And also too, the way that Kim reacts to Chuck's expose, you know, as he casts off his shiny space blanket and goes forth to deliver his scathing indictment of Jimmy and his misdeeds. And I could totally see Kim absolutely losing it and cutting ties with Jimmy, and I could see all of that. But at the same time, you know, she has officially hitched her wagon to his. And so she realizes now that their fates are kind of tied together. Not to mention the fact that having Mesa Verde as her client, that's a way for her to finally officially strike out on her own, to prove herself to the world and to prove herself one who doesn't need a boss in order to achieve success. And so she sees all of this, and the way that she decides to proceed is to get super ridiculously real. So she takes things like a freaking psychologist. She takes things back to childhood and actually blames Chuck's problem, i.e. the forged Mesa Verde documents, forged of course by Jimmy. She blames that problem on Chuck himself. And the logic, honestly, is incredibly sound. We've only gotten a few brief glimpses into their past, but we can tell that it is complicated and messy as all get out, and that there is so much more than meets the eye when it comes to Jimmy's inclination to take a walk on the wild side. And so ultimately she's like, yo, Chuck, if I think, number one, she fully could accept that what Jimmy did, or what Chuck says Jimmy did, he did actually do. Yeah, she knows Jimmy pretty well. And I think that she believes he could be capable of something so utterly insane. But she decides to take the approach of saying, hey, Chuck, if you didn't want to deal with this, you should have actually been a good brother to begin with. Because you never supported him. You never gave him the chance. You never gave him the time of day. And now this is what you get. This is karma, baby. So, yeah, even though she's not saying, yes, I believe this is true, but even though she's actually presenting her counterpoint in the form of, I feel so sorry for you, I do believe that deep down, embedded within her, is the truth. The knowledge of knowing exactly what Jimmy is capable of. And she reveals that later on when the two of them are getting ready to bed down for the night. Jimmy's ready to pass out and call it a day, but Kim says, no. If we're going to make this thing work, you're going to cross your T's. You're going to dot your I's. You're going to flip those numbers. And you are going to do so in such a way as to actually come out on top. Completely avoid detection. You do not get to mess around anymore. Because she doesn't want to find herself in a position where she's walking out of a heated discussion and, punching Jimmy in the arm. She doesn't want to have to keep doing this over and over and over. She wants to be, in a sense, partners or, joint solo practitioners, but realizes too that ultimately Jimmy's ship goes down, then so does hers. And she's going to make damn sure that what he does is not going to be the end for her either. So it's very strategic, the choice that Kim makes. And I love the strength that it shows in her character and how she manages to preserve this integrity throughout, and this incredible acumen and intelligence. She knows exactly what she wants. She knows exactly who Chuck is, who Jimmy is. It'll be interesting to see how Chuck's accident plays into things in the future, and as she seeks to proceed alongside Jimmy and with Mesa Verde, Lord freaking knows. But Jimmy himself is divided about things too. There is still this sense of brotherly obligation that cuts through everything, to the point where he can't intervene when Chuck falls in the store. But he is under his breath saying, oh dear God, for the love of God, somebody call 911. He feels that care and that urgency in spite of himself, really. Another incredible scene this week too was the next installment in his grandiose 60-second commercial, in which he just wanted to get a nice establishing shot in front of an American flag at a school and had to schmooze the two administrative ladies out of preventing him from doing so by telling this incredible story of how the singer of the Pina Colada song is actually, the school was his alma mater. We're making a documentary about his formative years in New Mexico. Just absolutely unreal. I feel like there needs to be like a board game or a party game or something where you try to spin these Better Call Saul style lies, because I am freaking impressed at every angle. He knows how to pull friggin' litters upon litters of white rabbits out of his little top hat. I will tell you that much. And hopefully we'll get to see the final products of his commercial by the finale too. So what are your predictions as far as relationships, potential deaths, potential broken relationships, whatever it is that you think the finale is going to have in store for us? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. And any details that I missed too, please, by all means, bring them up in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to do the finale with you and to return next year for season 3 as well. Meanwhile, right around the corner, we've got Game of Thrones and a slew of other exciting things. So slowly but surely, I'm expanding my TV queue and looking to review more stuff for you guys as I have time. So thank you again. Take care of yourselves. And as always, I will be back before you know it.